Hello and welcome to Kinship Connects, a podcast from SDA Kinship sharing our stories and our journeys. My name is Floyd Poynitz, and today it's my privilege to speak with Yolanda Elliott. Thanks for joining us, Yolanda.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, this is exciting. Kinship is starting a new venture with podcasts and interviews telling the stories of some of our members. So I thought it would be only appropriate to interview you as our first guest here. So,
I'm privileged.
We love having the spotlight on you. So tell us a little bit about where you live and what you do currently, that kind of thing.
I live in Clarksville, Maryland, on the wonderful East Coast of the United States. And currently, I am an assisted living provider. And when I say currently, I would say since 1985. So I've been around a while.
Yeah.
So in my home, I have up to 5 residents, and they eat, sleep, and live here. And we try to take the best care we can of them.
Wow, that sounds like it keeps you busy. Do you have time to eat, sleep, and take care of yourself?
Not a whole lot, but I'm managing.
Yeah, well, great. Did you grow up in that same area as well? Or tell us a little bit about your growing up.
Okay. I was born in Virginia, Fredericksburg, Virginia, but when I was 2, my parents moved in this area. And in fact, they moved to Clarksville, which is where I live now. But I lived over near the Chesapeake Conference Office before the conference office was there on Route 29 and 32. So I grew up, near Columbia, Maryland. And I've, besides going to school up at Highland View Academy in near Hagerstown, I've been in this area all my life. Cool.
So it sounds like you have an Adventist background.
Very much so.
Yeah, a few generations?
Yes,
Yeah.
both sides of the family. Right.
Okay, awesome. And your schooling was Adventist as well?
Right. I went to Athelton Elementary, which is Adventist, Highland View Academy, and Columbia Union College. I know, Washington Adventist University, but anyway.
Changed names along the way, huh?
It did.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that somewhere along the line, you figured out that your attractions were different than a lot of other kids or people along the way.
Yes,
is that
actually,
a good assumption or a bad assumption on my part?
that's an accurate assumption.
Okay.
So I actually realized it when I was in elementary school. I was kind of a tomboy, but then I grew up with 4 brothers and 1 sister. So my sister and I had to hold our own amongst the tribe of guys in the house. So being a tomboy, I hung out more with the guys in elementary school, but I sort of started having crushes on girls. So it's like, that's odd. But then back then I called them my best friends, Then when I went to academy, I dated, several guys, and I really enjoyed it. But, when you start thinking down the line, what happens if I marry one of these guys, then what am I going to do? So in college, I dated a little bit, nothing terribly serious. And I guess I had a roommate I was kind of attracted to. And but you keep thinking, no, I can't be gay because I'm Adventist, right?
Right.
In fact, one therapist said to me, "Do you think you're gay?" "No, I can't be gay. I'm Adventist, Live and learn. So
Yeah.
I really came to accept myself when I was like 32, and decided to come out then because I started dating this young woman, and that was tumultuous, talking to your parents about that. Actually, I let my sister do it. My sister came out for me.
Uh-huh.
And I'm kind of glad because I think my parents were not thrilled, and they let that be known. So getting that secondhand, I think, was a blessing. But over the years, I've just acted like my family loved me anyway, and they really have. Even if they didn't really accept who I was. But as years have gone by, they've done a bit of a turnaround, and they're a lot more open and accepting of who I am and my partner, Keisha.
Good.
So they
Good.
love her.
Yeah. So they've been on a journey as well,
They have.
and so they're accepting and understanding. And so you're currently in a relationship with someone.
Mhm. So Keisha came to the Washington area on an internship because she was at the Texas Tech University in Lubbock, Texas. And she contacted me as the region coordinator to see if anything was going on. And we just so happened to have been having a Vespers at a Presbyterian church in Laurel, Maryland. So I got a couple of other members in our area to go by the metro and pick her up and bring her out. And when she walked through the door, I was like, yeah, I just, there was an attraction. But I was the leader. She was new. She was in the area for about 5 months, and then she went back to Lubbock to finish her PhD.
Mm.
And over time, we just started corresponding with each other, her from there, me from here, and realized we both had an attraction to the other. And we started dating, and the rest is history.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
sounds like a great story. And long distance relationships are difficult. So
yeah.
I'm glad that she's closer now to you there.
Me too. Yes, I
Yeah.
am.
Yeah. So let me back up just a little bit. You said you officially came out kind of in your 30s.
Right.
And so were you living still at home up until kind of that point, or were you on your own?
I was on my own.
You were on your
I
own.
was, how old would I have been in 85? So I started my business in 85. So I know I was here in this house when I actually came out.
Mm, okay.
So, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So I was
Good.
not at home,
Yeah.
thankfully.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. So you grew up Adventist,
Mhm.
obviously a conservative religion. I mean, almost everyone grows up somewhat conservatively. And then finding out that you weren't heterosexual. How did you deal with that? I mean, was there a strife, a conflict, or did you fairly early on say, "Hey, it's okay"?
Um, to be honest, I always felt that God loved me regardless, but I always felt it was the Adventist church that had an issue with me more than God.
Hmm.
And so I never had the angst about God not loving me. It was more about, the church and the, family that were church members and how they were going to deal with it more than between God and I. I didn't have an issue with feeling that God always loved me, and I never have. So I think I'm grateful for that I haven't felt an alienation
Yeah,
between God and myself over who I am, who
yeah,
He created me to be.
that's very comforting.
Mhm.
That's good. Yeah, yeah. So, how did you hear about kinship then?
When I was going to CUC, whatever, um, there was, so that was back in the 70s.
Okay.
So kinship was just up and coming.
Hmm.
And I read something in one of the papers there. I don't know if it was at the college or anyway, at Columbia Union College is where I heard about kinship. So I was always aware of it. I think I don't think I became a member right away because I had to go through growing,
Mhm.
so that I accepted myself. But once I did, I became a member like in the early 90s. But
Okay.
I didn't attend my first kinship camp meeting until 95. And
95.
then I have not missed one since.
Wow, wow, wow. Well, let me ask just a follow-up questions, taking one step back. Between the time that you heard about kinship and actually joined, did you know other gay and lesbian Adventists? Or did you kind of feel like you might be a unique creature?
No, I knew of
Okay.
some that uh, who had gone to Highland View Academy, I
Mhm.
heard were, and I, I, I knew of them, but I don't know how close friendships there were at CUC at the time. And then in some of the years going forward, I really didn't have a close um, connection with other Adventist gay people. I did later on with, just other gay people, but not Adventist.
Right, right, right. Okay, okay. So yeah, then tell me about this first camp meeting that you went to. I want our listeners, our viewers, to hear your experience there.
Uh, so I didn't know a soul. And it was happening in Manuka in Oregon
Mhm.
back in
Remember which year that was?
95.
95. Okay.
Was my first camp meeting.
Okay.
And so I just remember feeling such a need for connection to other people like myself, because I didn't have the the spirituality mixing with the sexuality, because I didn't know any other gay Adventists, and
Right.
I really wanted to meet some.
Mhm.
So I got on that plane and I flew out, and um, John Wheeland and Sherry Babcock picked me up at the airport
In Portland.
in Portland.
Yeah.
And it was like, they just were so welcoming. But when I got to Manuka, one of the uh, meetings were just letting out for lunch. And I got scooped up by Mama and Jesse. And they just took me right into lunch first, like I was royalty or something.
Hmm.
And it just felt like I arrived at home. It just felt like home.
Wow.
And not knowing anybody, it didn't matter, because you were all part of the same big, wonderful family of all
Yeah.
those folks that were there.
Wow.
And
Wow.
that week, I really enjoyed it so much, meeting everybody.
Hmm.
Um, it was an amazing experience. And I think that first experience of camp meeting is what has kept me going back every year.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Do you feel that same feeling ever at camp meetings since then?
Right, because sometimes some of the people that you meet there every year, that's the only time you get to see them, because people come from all across the US,
Sure.
Canada, sometimes Europe and other countries. So sometimes that's the only time I get to see those people in person. So it's
Wow.
like a family reunion every
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. 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 Do you remember
Only
any
family you want to be with.
the chosen family? Yes. Exactly. Exactly. Do you remember any of the speakers that first year, or themes that were talked about or anything?
Um, who was there? Not off the top of my head.
Okay, putting you on the
You know how
spot.
it is when you get older.
We won't talk about that. So yeah, at that first camp meeting, it seems like they put you in a leadership position right away, or at least almost right away.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Well, I think the first thing they did was ask if I would sort of lead out in the region here in Region 2. So
Mhm.
Washington, Maryland, Virginia, and surrounding
Right.
states. And so I did that and I enjoyed it. And we got quite a group going here. I'm still in leadership, but I have a lot of help. So other people have stepped up to help keep our Vespers going. And we have a springtime mini camp meeting in Rehoboth every spring, except COVID, but we're planning on getting back there this spring.
Okay.
So yeah, we've had pool parties. While when we had a camp meeting virtually,
Mhm.
we actually set up a big television out here by the pool, and all the region members that could
Uh-huh.
ended up coming and watching from here. So it was nice.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. There's something about meeting in person that you're missing when it's on a screen like this. I mean, this is nice.
Absolutely.
You get to see people, but it's not the same as actually being in that space with someone else. So
Exactly.
yeah. So Region 2 is where you're at.
Mhm.
Is that correct? Yeah.
Yes,
And yeah, that's always been one of the more active regions, at least in the past decades now, where you've been leading out in there. So what would you say is the key to success, or to get a region active and doing things?
I think the biggest uh, positive for this particular group is that there are so many people concentrated in the Maryland, DC, Virginia area,
Hmm.
gay Adventists.
Hmm.
So some have worked at the GC over the years.
Ooh,
You know,
don't tell.
no, I'm talking years ago.
Okay, I'm being
You
silly.
know, um,
Yeah.
so I have no idea who's working there now,
Okay.
but so this area has a higher concentration of gay Adventists just
Mhm.
because of where we're located.
Right.
Um, and so that we have an easier time.
So what you're saying there kind of is a segue to my next question. You're in the shadow of the General Conference, and also the North American Division isn't far away. Is that correct?
That
So
is
you have
correct.
two major offices right close by. And how is that? Do you feel like, they're
Oh,
watching you?
it's wonderful. Actually, over the years, I think they ignore us. So you know what we did one time? Some odd years ago, they have the Adopt a Highway program.
Hmm.
So as a region, I applied to adopt the highway right next to the general conference on 29.
Wow.
And of course, whatever length of road you do, they put up signs.
Aha.
So there was the SDA Kinship International sign that we were the people doing the Adopt a Highway right in front of the general conference. And I think they couldn't ignore us then.
Wow. Wow. No, that sign was right there. I'm sure Ted was quite happy about that.
I
Not.
don't think he was there then, but
Oh, that was okay. One of his predecessors. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. So what does it mean, adopt a highway? What all is that? What do you do?
They want you to pick up garbage along the highway to keep it
Okay.
clean,
Okay.
like every quarter. So
Uh-huh.
a couple of times, 3-4 times a year.
Okay.
And so we used to do that. We get a group together and one of the guys in our region had a pickup truck. So we got all these, filled up all these bags and threw it in the back of his truck. And then we pile it all in a pile. And then the highway department comes and picks up all the garbage bags.
Ah, okay. Okay.
But
So it's a like a team building almost.
yep,
Or yeah.
And
yeah,
it's helping the environment, and it's reminding the lovely General Conference that we are around.
yeah. Any chance of doing that again in the future?
They did some reconstruction on the road there, so I would have to check and see if they would let us do it again there, because they made it sort of a faster highway.
Okay,
But I can
okay.
check and see.
Any
That would
billboards
be
close to
fun.
the GC that we could maybe, buy for a period of time?
Maybe. I'll check on that.
So all ideas. What other things does Region Two do, usually annually when it's not a pandemic? Um,
We do like a holiday party.
mhm,
Sometimes we've tried to go to like a Christmas concert at Sligo in the past. We've done
mhm.
that. We used to do a dress up thing like near Valentine's Day, where couples or singles, it doesn't really matter, though some of the singles kind of didn't, I don't know. It wasn't as comfortable, I guess.
Sure,
But
sure.
really, we're all one big group. It doesn't really matter. So we all get dressed up and we'd rent out a room at, what is it, Maggiano's Little Italy? And we'd
Mm,
have like a banquet for ourselves. And that used to be a lot of fun too.
wow, great.
Um, yeah,
Yeah. How about pride parades? Have y'all done any of
yeah.
those?
We've been doing the DC Pride Parade for, and I can't even remember, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was 20 years by now.
Okay,
In one in New York one time and one in Baltimore, but mostly DC.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. Great, great. Wow.
And
So it's
and it's funny because every single time we've done the Pride Parade, somebody's come up and said they couldn't believe that, you know, there are gay Adventists. I should say, were you raised Adventist? Yes. Well,
exactly.
if there's you, there's us. So, eh, and then we point them to kinship, of course.
Cool, cool. Yeah, that's a big thing. None of us are alone. We all grow up thinking we might be the only one, but then we
Right.
others, and there's a whole large, huge community out there of us. So that's great. Do you have any local churches that are affirming or welcoming that members could feel comfortable going to?
Well, um, New Hope in Fulton is
Okay.
a church that has accepted us. We meet for Vesper, we pre-pandemic. We always met at the church for our monthly Vespers.
Wow.
We've
Yeah.
even held a kinship board meeting or two there. They've allowed us to use some space there.
Mm,
So several are in position with helping with the kids' church. Some of us are greeters or at the Ask Me desk or other positions at the church, and they know who we are. Yeah.
so you can be out and openly, I mean,
With the administrators and the pastors, yes.
mhm.
Nobody has been in any way negative towards us. They've been very welcoming.
Wow, that is awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, are there any other churches in the area that you can think of that might be welcoming as well?
Um, Kind of depends on the pastoral staff
And that
of
could
each
change.
church.
Yeah,
And I haven't been to many other churches since I found New Hope, so I'm not sure really
right.
in the area. Of course, when I was at Sligo, I actually, now that I think about it, I called, somebody told me I should call the Sligo office to find out about kinship.
Mhm.
And one of the pastors there pointed me in the right direction in how to get in touch. And I was like flabbergasted, but not all of the pastors there at the time were that, positive towards kinship. But the person I talked to was very, and helped guide me in the right direction.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah. Somebody was looking out for you there.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, you've been in several leadership positions with SDA Kinship,
Mhm.
and most recently you were the president for how many years?
Uh, 10 or so,
Okay, for
11,
a long
12. I
time.
don't really know.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
time.
Well, good, good. And you're still on the board though, is that
Yes.
correct? Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Still having your fingers in the organization, and it sounds like you really do like kinship and
I
being a
do.
part of it, making a difference for other people.
I definitely do.
Yeah. So what was in your reign of leading in kinship in different positions? What do you find was the biggest challenge?
Um, the biggest challenge is having our members be connected more closely to each other when some of our members live far, far away from other members.
Mhm.
Um, I would say that in one regard, the pandemic has sort of been a blessing because, and I say one regard, meaning it has helped us develop better ways to be connected to each other,
Mhm.
whether through Zoom or um, WebEx meetings, whatever. When we can't meet face to face physically, we still can meet face to face like we are
Right.
doing right now. And it
Right.
makes a huge difference.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, definitely,
So
definitely.
that's one of the challenges. Another challenge would be um, it's easy to be in an organization um, who try so hard to meet members' needs, but to get some members to want to step up and help with that themselves has been a bit of a challenge. I've heard over the years, well, how come this person is still in office? Because you haven't stepped up. If you want to see a change in leadership, or do you have great ideas for programs or projects? Bring them, you know,
Mhm.
or step up and lead those things.
Mhm. Mhm.
So getting more members involved is a big challenge as well.
Yeah, yeah. Is kinship quite diverse, or is it pretty homogeneous as far as membership?
It's very diverse.
Mhm.
It I think when it's an international organization and you have members all around the world, um, of course, Kinship started in the United States, but it is an international organization.
Mhm.
There are more and more people from the Latin countries are growing by leaps and bounds. It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
European uh, kinship meetings are growing, and it's just a wonderful thing to see so many people from so many different areas come together.
Mhm.
And it was my first year going over to the European Kinship meeting in September,
Mhm.
and I just had a fantastic time. But to be able to still attend European kinship meetings online through Zoom
Mhm.
is helping keep the connection with those folks that I met face to face
Yeah.
finally after all these years.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Good, good. Yeah. So what if one thing stuck out in your mind as perhaps the proudest achievement or the best thing that happened to kinship in the past X years, does any one thing stick out in your mind that you'd like to just mention?
there's so many things that I think Kinship has tried to do. I think one of the things that I appreciate about Kinship is how supportive the board is for towards members in many different regions trying to either start up their groups or continue on.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a group that hasn't been cultivated enough, I think you can count on the board to come to the assistance and help get things going. If that means financially or, advice or whatever, I think the board is there and tries very hard to be supportive.
Awesome. Yeah. So what are next steps for Yolanda?
Let's see. Well, I can't retire, so let me see. Truthfully, I want to be as supportive with Kinship as I have been in the past, or more so. I've had a few rough years lately, and with people getting sick in my family and passing away and things like that. But so I have been not quite as energized as I had been, but I'm looking forward to offering whatever I have to give back to Kinship so that, some other person who comes to their first camp meeting or whatever and feels that love surround them from this community, I want that to go out to, I want to offer that to somebody else.
Great. That same feeling that you felt when you walked into the first camp meeting there. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, is there anything that I haven't asked you or any closing words of wisdom that you would like to share with those listening?
Well, I think one thing I would hope our members would do is stay in contact with other Kinship members and the organization as a whole. And let's be there for each other.
Great. Awesome. Good parting words there.
And Floyd, keep stirring the pot.
I will do my best. And hopefully this podcast series, Kinship Connects, will help connect us and keep stirring the pot and helping people to know that their stories are unique, but they're also very much similar to other people's, and that none of us live in a vacuum. We're all part of a larger community. So
exactly.
Yeah. So Yolanda, thanks for sharing with us today. We hope that today's podcast was interesting and has given our listeners some things to think about. Seventh-day Adventist Kinship International is the only LGBTQIA+ affirming community for current and former Adventists. We welcome not only the Rainbow Alphabet members, but also parents, family members who want to learn more about how to support their loved ones, and supportive allies who stand with us to make a difference in our church and the world. You can check us out on the web at sdakinship.org or follow us on social media at SDA Kinship. And if you have any questions or comments, you can always email me at info@sdakinship.org. And we look forward to having you with us on the next podcast release. So thanks for being with us today, Yolanda.
You're welcome, and thank you for all you do, Floyd.
You're very welcome. My pleasure.
Okay.